Now we are going to look at another kind of plot, which is the scatter plot. It's very similar to the line plot with some little differences that we are going to see later on. Let's get started. I have created X and Y through NumPy. As I mentioned earlier, NumPy is a Python library that is used for mathematical operations. And I'm going to explain what I've done here. I have basically used NumPy to create a list of 30 numbers between 0 and 10. And I've used NumPy to actually return the signed values of each element of this list into the Y variable. So this is what our X looks like. And this is what our Y looks like. If you want to know more about NumPy, I have a course on that as well. Moving on, I'm going to show you the difference between a scatter plot and a line plot. The same way we plot X against some Y values or X-axis against Y-axis in line plot, we do the same with scatter plot. However, unlike a line plot where we literally draw a line that shows us the relationship between these two X and Y axes, which is the X and Y variables, in scatter plot, we are only going to plot the plot. We are only going to put a dot and not join those lines at all with a line. And that is what we see here.
Hello there. If you have enjoyed this course so far, kindly support me and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe will also help you know when newer courses are released. Thank you for subscribing. I do hope you have. Let's carry on with the course.
For a scatter plot, we use the plt.scatter function. We pass in the x-axis value, the y-axis value, and then we label it. Remember that this label is what shows us the legend. And then here I'm adding some extra values. For example, I want the color of my scatter plot to be blue and I want the marker to be 0. If you check the Matplotlib documentation, there are many colors you can assign here and there are different markers. And then followed by the X label, which we've seen earlier, the Y label, and the title. We also should not forget our legend function, which is basically what shows the label that we have assigned to our scatter plot. As we would see here, we have many scatter plots or data points that has been plotted by our scatter plot. So unlike a line where all of these plots will actually be joined together, just as I'm moving my mouse, it's just going to be a dot that represents the X and Y value. So this means when X is 1, the value of Y is 10, and so on. When X is 3, the value of Y is 7, and so on and so forth. So it's still using the previous X and Y that I've created earlier. So let's create a new one so that we see many data points. As you see here, now we have many data points. And remember, with a line plot, this is actually going to draw a line in this order. But in this case, we have used a scatter plot. And we can always change the marker. As I mentioned, there are many markers that we can use. And as you see here, we've changed this to a star. Now, let's look at some other things. In this very simple example, you can actually visualize the relationship between temperature and ice cream sales using a scatter plot. Next, we will look at bar plots and histograms, which are even much more interesting.
Hello there. If you have enjoyed this course so far, kindly support me and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe will also help you know when newer courses are released. Thank you for subscribing. I do hope you have. Let's carry on with the course.